When you think about the most advanced technology in the United States military, your mind probably goes to stealth fighters, nuclear submarines, or satellite systems worth billions of dollars. But some of the most valuable assets on the battlefield have 4 legs, a tail, and can fit in the back of a Humvee. Military working dogs, especially those serving in special operations, can cost anywhere from $40,000 to over $150,000 each. And believe it or not, that price tag is completely justified. Let's start with a number that might surprise you. The average military working dog costs the Department of Defense roughly $50,000 to procure and train. But when you're talking about the elite dogs that work with Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, or Delta Force, that number can easily triple. A single Belgian Malinois trained for special operations can cost upwards of $150,000. To put that in perspective, that's more than some armored vehicles. It's more than advanced communication systems. It's enough to make anyone ask the obvious question: what makes a dog worth that much money? The answer begins long before these dogs ever set paw on a military base. It starts with breeding. The military doesn't just grab any energetic puppy from a shelter and hope for the best. They source dogs from specialized breeding programs, often in Europe, where bloodlines have been carefully maintained for generations specifically for police and military work. Belgian Malinois, German Shepherds, and Dutch Shepherds are the breeds of choice, and they're selected for traits that go far beyond basic obedience. These dogs need an almost supernatural drive to work. We're talking about animals that would rather chase a ball than eat, dogs that will scale a 12-foot wall without hesitation, dogs that maintain focus in the middle of gunfire, explosions, and chaos that would send most creatures running for cover. This kind of drive isn't something you can train into a dog. It has to be hardwired into their DNA. Breeders spend decades perfecting these characteristics, and that expertise comes at a premium. But getting the right dog is just the beginning. The real cost comes from training, and this is where things get truly impressive. A military working dog doesn't learn to sit and stay. They learn to detect dozens of different explosive compounds. They learn to find hidden weapons caches. They learn to track human scent across miles of desert terrain or through dense jungle. They learn to rappel from helicopters, parachute from planes, and swim from submarines. Yes, you heard that right. Some of these dogs are trained to jump out of aircraft at high altitude. The training process can take anywhere from 6 months to over a year, depending on the dog's assignment. During this time, each dog works with professional trainers who specialize in military applications. These aren't your local obedience school instructors. These are experts who understand canine psychology, behavioral science, and the specific demands of military operations. The training facilities themselves are sophisticated operations with obstacle courses, mock villages, and controlled environments that simulate every possible scenario a dog might encounter downrange. And here's something most people don't realize. Dogs wash out of training just like human candidates. Not every dog that enters a military working dog program makes it through. Some dogs don't have the temperament, some get injured, some just don't click with the work. When you factor in all the dogs that don't make the cut, the cost per successful military working dog increases even more. The military has to invest in multiple dogs to get one fully qualified operator. Now let's talk about what these dogs actually do that makes them irreplaceable. Start with explosive detection. A trained military working dog can detect explosive materials at concentrations far below what any machine can sense. We're talking about parts per trillion. Their noses contain up to 300 million olfactory receptors compared to our measly 5 million. When a dog clears a route or a building, it can mean the difference between life and death for an entire unit. In Iraq and Afghanistan, military working dogs were credited with saving countless lives by detecting improvised explosive devices before convoys could hit them. There are documented cases of dogs alerting to IEDs that were so well concealed that even after the alert, bomb disposal teams had difficulty finding them. These dogs were finding threats that the enemy spent hours carefully hiding, and they were doing it while walking beside their handlers through some of the most dangerous territory on Earth. But explosive detection is just one skill. These dogs are also trained in patrol work and apprehension. When special operations teams conduct raids, having a dog can completely change the tactical situation. A dog can clear a room faster than any human. They can pursue fleeing targets across terrain where vehicles can't go. They can climb stairs, jump through windows, and navigate tight spaces. And perhaps most importantly, the mere presence of a military working dog is often enough to make enemy combatants surrender without a fight. There's a psychological component here that's hard to quantify, but absolutely real. Human beings have an instinctive fear of aggressive dogs. It's primal. It bypasses rational thought. Enemy fighters who might be willing to engage in a firefight with human soldiers often surrender immediately when confronted with a barking, snarling 80-pound Malinois. That kind of force multiplication, where one asset can influence an entire tactical situation, is exactly what makes these dogs so valuable. Then there's the detection of other materials beyond explosives. Military working dogs are trained to find weapons, ammunition, drugs, and even hidden people. During sensitive site exploitation, when troops are searching enemy compounds for intelligence, a well-trained dog can locate hidden caches that might otherwise be missed. They find weapons buried underground. They detect ammunition hidden inside walls. They alert to enemy fighters hiding in crawl spaces or beneath false floors. The dogs that work with special operations units undergo even more specialized training. These animals learn to operate in complete silence. They're trained to alert to threats using subtle body language rather than barking. They learn to maintain position in helicopters, boats, and vehicles moving at high speed. Some are trained to wear specialized equipment including body armor, night vision cameras, and communication systems that allow their handlers to see what the dog sees in real time. Imagine a Navy SEAL team approaching a compound in total darkness. They can send the dog in first, equipped with a small camera on its harness. The team can watch from a safe distance as the dog moves through the building, clearing rooms and identifying threats. The dog isn't just a detector. It's an advanced reconnaissance platform that can go places humans can't and do things humans can't do as quickly or quietly. And here's something that really drives home the value of these animals. Unlike machines, dogs have judgment. A metal detector will beep at a buried soda can just as loudly as it will at a landmine. A dog trained in explosive detection knows the difference between actual threats and harmless materials. They make decisions, they assess situations, they adapt to new environments and new challenges in ways that even our most sophisticated technology cannot replicate. The bond between handler and dog is another factor that makes these teams so effective. Military working dog handlers go through extensive training themselves, learning how to read their dog's body language, maintain their health and performance, and integrate them into military operations. The relationship that develops is deeper than pet ownership. It's a true partnership. Handlers will tell you their dogs have saved their lives. Dogs have taken bullets meant for their handlers. They've continued working even when injured. The loyalty these animals display is absolute. After their service, many military working dogs retire and are adopted by their handlers or other military families. There's actually legislation now that prioritizes handlers when dogs become available for adoption. These retired warriors deserve comfortable retirements, and the people who worked beside them understand better than anyone what these dogs sacrificed. And yes, sacrifice is the right word. These dogs face the same dangers as human service members. They deserve the same respect and recognition. So when we circle back to that price tag, $40,000 to $150,000 per dog, it starts to make perfect sense. You're not just paying for a dog, you're paying for years of specialized breeding. You're paying for months of intensive training by world-class experts. You're paying for an asset that can detect threats no technology can match. You're paying for a force multiplier that changes the tactical calculus of every operation. You're paying for a partner who will work without hesitation in the worst conditions imaginable. Military working dogs represent an incredible intersection of biology, training, and dedication. They're living proof that sometimes the old ways are still the best ways. In an era of drones, robots, and artificial intelligence, these four-legged warriors remain absolutely irreplaceable. They save lives every single day. They enable missions that would otherwise be impossible. And they do it all with a wagging tail and an eagerness to work that never diminishes. The next time you hear about the cost of military equipment and wonder where the money goes, remember the dogs. Remember that some of our most valuable military assets have wet noses and fur. Remember that these animals are out there right now, somewhere in the world, keeping our service members safe. They're worth every single penny, and quite honestly, they might just be priceless.